And they're now being threatened by people. You'd think you were in Trump's America. And they're now being physically threatened. These judges are being physically threatened. I suppose mainly at first as a way in which I could give money in a charitable way, both in Britain and in America. It's difficult for a British taxpayer to give money to American charities. You can do it, but it's kind of hard, and you don't get the tax benefits. So I founded these two foundations. The British Foundation was mainly used as a kind of conduit to get money into America, where I thought it was more needed.
It's also, part of this is because, for whatever reasons, most of my fellow Americans, if I say something, they can blow it off. But if it has your accent, they pay attention to it a little bit more.
I was afraid it might be the other way around, actually. I once was unwise enough to reply to the Guardian request to give advice about two elections ago, American elections ago, and I gave advice about how nobody should vote for George W. Bush, and I got the most incredible lot of hate mail. You limey, stay out of our affairs, and to which my reply was, the American election affects the entire world, and I kind of resent the fact that we can't vote in it. But I think
so do I.
I got off the point.
When I came through customs, the customs agent said, "Oh, you're going to be giving a talk tomorrow night." And I said, "Yes." And I flew in Saturday, and she said, "So you're only here for Sunday, and then you fly home on Monday?" And I was like, "Yes." And this seemed to baffle her a little bit, so she wanted to repeat it. "So you're here for just one day to give a talk?" And I said, "Yes, but depending on the election results on Tuesday, I might be back the following weekend."
Anyway, I digressed. The American Foundation is the one that actually does most of the work, and it's now extremely flourishing, and it's just about to merge with the Center for Inquiry, which is a much larger, flourishing organization in America, and I think also in Canada. And between us, we're doing a lot of exciting things. One of them is the Openly Secular campaign. You're probably aware that in the United States, it's very, very hard for an atheist, or an open atheist, to become a member of Congress. In fact, there aren't any. Out of 535 members of Congress, not a single one admits to being an atheist, and that's a statistical nonsense. They've obviously got to be. Large numbers of them must be. I mean, they're all presumably reasonably well educated. And yet it doesn't seem to be possible to get elected if you're honest in this regard. So you've either got to be religious or a liar to get elected. So the Openly Secular campaign is a campaign to raise consciousness of Americans. I mustn't use that word, of United States citizens. To raise consciousness by making YouTube videos, getting celebrities to make little videos saying, "I am openly secular." And we get ordinary people to say, "I am openly secular," just nice people, the sort of people you'd like, people you know. I'm not a devil with horns. I'm an ordinary person who you probably like, and I'm openly secular. So that's one of our campaigns. Another one is TIES, the Teacher Institute for Evolutionary Science. This is to teach middle school teachers how to teach evolution, because they get a lot of pushback, they get a lot of hostility from parents, from some of their children who refuse to listen, stop up their ears, or turn their chairs to face the wall when evolution is being discussed. I've heard stories of teachers who, as soon as they mention the word evolution, their pupils scream, "No, no, no, I don't believe that. Don't even listen." Well, you could imagine that if you're a teacher who perhaps doesn't have very much specialized knowledge, that's quite intimidating. And so, unless you're rather brave, you'd be likely to sort of shy away from teaching evolution for fear of getting that kind of pushback. So TIES is a campaign to help teachers by telling them how to respond, telling them how to teach evolution, giving them resources they can use, giving them a PowerPoint presentation, giving them lab materials, that kind of thing. It's enormously successful. It's run by a magnificent middle school teacher called Bertha Vasquez from Florida. And she has run a large number of workshops for other teachers, and they're enormously successful. The teachers love them. So that's one of the programs that I'm most keen on. And when we merge with CFI, the Center for Inquiry, we'll suddenly inherit a whole lot of other programs, which I'm also very excited about. So it is one of the main things that I occupy my time with now is the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science, and now the Center for Inquiry.
And I'm hoping that, well, you can come down and visit me in Texas wherever you want, but there needs to be a focus in Texas in particular, and I don't want to spend all this time talking about my screwed up country, but Texas is the largest purchaser of school books, and it's a single adoption state. And so there is the constant battle going on with the State Board of Education, because they're not just deciding what students in Texas would learn. It would be tough to write off the entire state, even if that were the case, but the school books that are purchased for Texas get farmed out to other states as well. And I'm a big fan of the Texas Freedom Network, which constantly monitors what the State Board of Education is doing, and getting your organizations and theirs and others to work together. We've had some really, really close calls in Texas. And right before I started with the Atheist Experience, the atheist community of Austin had been in the school book hearings fighting. Some of the changes are incredibly bizarre, scrubbing different people from history. But every couple of years, it's a new course that comes up. So we do history, and then it's maths. And I said maths just for you.
Well, and what do Canadians say?
Is it? There's no S here, right? I knew I loved you guys. But this fight that goes on it's bizarre, and it reflects what you and I deal with when we're dealing with religious individuals as well. And some of it, if not the majority of it, stems from religious individuals. When you have the head of the State Board of Education proudly saying there has to be somebody to stand up to these experts.
Yes. We get that in Britain too. You know about this awful thing called Brexit, which is a catastrophe. One of the leaders of the Brexit campaign, Michael Gove, who was then a cabinet minister, actually went out and said, "Mistrust experts. You are the experts here." Well, I'm afraid that's exactly what happened, and we had a vote from people who are manifestly not experts in the complicated, sophisticated economic question of whether Britain should leave the European Union. It is a major catastrophe. What's even worse is that now the government is trying to deny even the right of Parliament to decide the details of what Brexit should consist of. And the High Court has just ruled that Parliament should be involved, and they're now being threatened by people. You'd think you were in Trump's America. And they're now being physically threatened. These judges are being physically threatened because they want to uphold the constitutional right of Parliament, not to reverse Brexit, but simply to decide on the details.
There's really only room for one person in Trump's America. So, but this issue of experts